November 18, 1978. Jonestown, Guyana, a remote settlement deep in the South American jungle. Hundreds of miles from a near city, isolated from the outside world, and home to what seemed like a utopia. But beneath the surface, it was a prison. Jim Jones, the charismatic leader of the People's Temple, had built more than a church. He had constructed a psychological empire, a world where obedience, fear, and devotion were intertwined. A place where questioning was forbidden, dissent punished, and the outside world demonized. On that fateful day, over 900 men, women, and children would die, drinking poison-laced Flavor Aid. Mothers clutched children in their arms. Fathers guided reluctant teenagers. And through it all, one man watched, manipulating, controlling, and ensuring compliance. How did this happen? How did so many intelligent adults obey one man? And why did a paradise turn into a mass grave? James Warren Jones was not born a villain, but ambition and charisma shaped him into one of the most infamous cult leaders in history. He preached equality, community, and utopian ideals. People's Temple began in Indianapolis in the 1950s, a church that advocated social justice, racial integration, and charity. But beneath the surface, Jones demanded absolute loyalty. Members were constantly surveilled, their personal lives dissected, their fears exploited. Gradually, the rhetoric shifted. The outside world was evil, the government corrupt, and only Jones could protect them. Psychologists analyzing Jones' methods note that he combined fear, guilt, and reinforcement to manipulate his followers. Every sermon, every meeting, every song was carefully crafted to bind the group together while isolating them from the outside world. By the 1970s, People's Temple moved to California, expanding influence and attracting hundreds. And then in 1977, Jones took his most ambitious step. Jonestown, the settlement in Guyana, promised to be a socialist paradise, free from the oppression of the United States. At first, Jonestown seemed idyllic. Lush greenery, communal meals, and work projects that bonded the members. But daily life was controlled and punishing. Food, exercise, and even sleep were regimented. Those who questioned authority faced white knights. Exercises and loyalty where survival itself depended on compliance. Every day, Jones delivered sermons over loudspeakers, reinforcing fear and devotion. Stories of outside persecution were exaggerated. Members were told the U.S. government wanted to destroy them, that defectors would be murdered, that salvation depended entirely on obedience. Psychologists describe this as totalistic control, the creation of a closed system where independent thought is impossible. Even intelligent, educated adults were gradually stripped of autonomy, reshaped by repetition, fear, and the illusion of community. Survivor testimonies revealed a chilling normalization of violence. Rehearsals of suicide drills, armed guards patrolling, public shaming, and relentless indoctrination. Children were taught to obey unquestioningly. Adults were coerced into reporting each other's minor infractions. By the time the mass suicide occurred, Jonestown was no longer a community. It was a psychological prison. November 18, 1978, began like any other day in Jonestown. But tension hung heavy in the humid jungle air. Congressman Leo Ryan had arrived the day before to investigate claims of abuse. Some members wanted to leave with him. This terrified Jones. Jones orchestrated a plan. Anyone attempting to leave would face consequences. Ryan and his party were ambushed at the nearby airstrip, resulting in multiple deaths. Panic erupted back in Jonestown. Then came the order, drink the Kool-Aid. Audio recordings from that day, the infamous death tape, reveal the depth of manipulation. Jones addresses the crowd calmly, explaining that the outside world cannot be trusted, that death is liberation, that failure to comply would invite even worse consequences. Parents fed poison to their children. Adults swallowed with trembling hands, chanting loyalty. Some resisted, but armed guards forced compliance. By the end, over 900 souls had died, including Jones himself. Psychologists analyzing the tape note an almost ritualistic structure: repetition, affirmation, and the gradual escalation of fear. Even in death, the cult leader maintained control, showing the terrifying power of totalistic psychological conditioning. How could this happen? Experts point to several factors. Charismatic authority. Jones' personal magnetism created a dependency among followers. Isolation. Physical and social isolation removed alternative sources of information and reinforced obedience. Fear of external threats. Imagine persecution of the outside world reinforced loyalty. Incremental compliance. Daily routines, drills, and minor obedience tasks build a gradual path to ultimate submission. Social proof and peer pressure. Seeing neighbors comply normalize extreme behaviors. Together, these mechanisms transformed rational adults into willing participants in their own destruction. Jonestown demonstrates the dark side of human psychology. Under the right conditions, fear, manipulation, and authority can override morality, reason, and even self-preservation. A small fraction survived. Children away at a pavilion. Adults who escaped into the jungle. Their testimonies provide chilling insight into the mental manipulation, coercion, and terror of daily life in Jonestown. The massacre shocked the world. Media coverage, books, and documentaries scrutinized every aspect. From Jones' early sermons to the logistics of mass death. Today, Jonestown serves as a case study in psychology, sociology, and criminal investigation. Experts continue to study how seemingly normal people can participate in horrific acts when placed in an environment of extreme control. The massacre also stands as a cautionary tale about cults, charismatic leaders, and the vulnerability of the human mind. In the digital era, the legacy of Jonestown lives on in a new form. Online communities, radical forums, and extremist movements exploit the same psychological levers. Charismatic figures, isolation, fear of outsiders, and incremental obedience. Today, psychologists warn that the same mechanisms, amplified by social media algorithms, could create new digital cults capable of manipulating thousands. The lesson of Jonestown is no longer purely historical. It is a warning of the human susceptibility to manipulation in any era. Even now, the question lingers, could Jonestown happen again in a different form? Could charismatic leaders in online spaces replicate the same psychological chains that once led 900 people to drink poison in a remote jungle? The echo of Jonestown reminds us, obedience, fear, and manipulation are timeless. The world must never underestimate their power. 900 lives lost in the jungle of Guyana, and yet the real tragedy is that human psychology remains unchanged. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely want to watch the next ones on your screen right now. And don't forget to subscribe for more.